Everyone, please be seated. All right, defense. The state filed a motion in limine. Defense, you were aware of the state's motion in limine. And I informed both parties, either side, if you have a motion in limine, before you enter into any territory that's the subject of the motion in limine, that you approach. And the reason why I do that is because, as both parties know, I do not know what the evidence is in your case. I don't know any facts of the case. I'm hearing this case as the jury is hearing it. And in the state's motion in limine, on page 2, it states, the state requests that the court grant this motion in limine and instruct the defense counsel to approach the bench and present the proposed evidence outside the presence of the jury before voir dire, opening statement, questioning, or in any matter bringing any witness or evidence of any of the following matters. And the number one thing says, any crimes, wrongs, or bad acts of the victim, Mark Anthony Saldivar. So, defense, it appears to the court that you violated the motion in limine, unless you're going to try to tell the court that possession of child pornography is not a bad act.
Your Honor, what I'm trying to elicit...
No. The question is whether or not you were aware of the motion in limine, which you were, and whether or not you violated it in regards to violation of condition number 1. What you're trying to do with the witness, and excuse me, I'm going to have the witness step down. And counsel, you'll take your client to the back. You're still under oath and the rule has been invoked.
Judge Boyd ain't having it.
And what I can tell you, unless you have some photos of child pornography that you're saying that the complainant had, then you're just throwing questions out and you're violating the motion in limine. It clearly states that you all are supposed to approach. Now, unless you all think that child pornography is not a bad act, then I don't know why that's a crime. Because if you're saying it's not a bad act, you asked this witness a question and it involved child pornography. Did I hear that incorrectly?
You heard that correctly, Your Honor, and I'd like to also make aware to the court yesterday when we approached about my motion in limine, the court specifically regurgitated condition number 1 to defense in regards to the nude photos.
Your Honor, I understand that the court is of the opinion we violated the motion.
No, not of the opinion. You violated the motion in limine. The motion in limine says that you are to approach before questioning or in any matter bringing any witness or evidence of any of the following matters. Any crimes, wrongs, or bad acts of the victim, Mark Anthony Saldivar. And you're asking this witness about whether or not he had child pornography or something in his camera. The court considers that a bad act.
Your Honor, to be clear.
This is tough. This is tough because I would want to see this motion. Because, yeah, he violated. I'm trying to help him out. It's a violation. God dang. Here we go. Let's see what his defense is for this.
Mark Anthony Saldivar. And you're asking this witness about whether or not he had child pornography or something in his camera. The court considers that a bad act.
Your Honor, to be clear, the questioning of the witness is intended to establish whether or not she previously made these statements. They're not being offered under Rule 613 for their truth. They're being offered for what she said to another individual.
You are still, what you're questioning her about is a bad act that she said that was the bad act of the complainant. And that's a motion in limine. And you all should approach before you do that. You violated the motion. The court is finding that you violated the motion in limine. And the only question now is how is that corrected? Because nobody approached the court to say, I'm going to start asking questions that is related to number 1 to the state's motion in limine.
I understand the court's ruling. I've given my explanation for it. As far as the remedy is concerned, the court will do as it sees fit. I understand.
Oh, no, I am. But you're still, it appears to court, acting as though you haven't violated number 1, and you have. You violated that motion in limine.
Your Honor,
and I can tell you, yes, counsel?
I think we're slightly, we understand the court's ruling. However, I do want the record to reflect, at least, that what we're asking is what the witness's previous statement. We are not accusing anybody of anything, and we're certainly not.
And I think that's fair. But still, I mean, this is it's a tough one. Y'all are saying he violated. I'm saying maybe he didn't violate because bringing up a bad act is one thing. Like the question, were you aware that Mr. whatever his name is was taking pictures of kids? Like, okay, that would be bringing up a bad act. But what he's asking is, did you say to the police that you saw this on his camera? And I think that's where the defense may have a little bit of leeway here. Or there may be a little bit of a loophole. Because if that's what she said, you're not necessarily bringing up a bad act by just saying, oh, he's bad, he took pictures. It's what did you say that he did? This could go either way. I think the judge is probably going to have some more grace here, but
witnesses' previous statements. We are not accusing anybody of anything, and we're certainly not trying to accuse Mark. And we will be happy to explain to the jury.
It's still a violation of the motion in limine. Hypothetically, if somebody were to ask for any defendant, not just your defendant, if somebody were to ask a witness on the stand, hey, by the way, and didn't you tell somebody else that the defendant had possession of child pornography, the defense would be objecting because it's a violation of the motion in limine. It's a violation of the motion in limine in fact and in spirit.
Well, it is intended because this witness gave a number of prior statements. One to a police officer during an interrogation, which was video recorded. Another under oath before another judge in a different court.
But here's the thing: it doesn't matter to the court. What matters to the court is that it's a bad act, and all you all had to do was approach the court. I would have heard it, what you are seeking to get from this witness, and I would have made a ruling on it. But instead, you have people.
I don't know, because if that's the case, are they allowed to say, "Hey, did you see the victim, the alleged victim, stomping on the windshield"? Wouldn't that be a bad act? Did you see the victim? Did you say to police that you saw the victim doing such and such, fighting with TK? I mean, isn't that a bad act? And him stomping on the windshield is a part of this entire trial. So, again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge, but I think I might side on the defense with this one. It's tough though. It's tough.
Who are violating rules, and I'm finding you violated the motion in limine rule. It's not supposed to be brought up until it's brought up to the court outside the presence of the jury.
The jury heard it,
what
though,
you
so
have
they
done
went either way.
is by bringing this up. I don't know if the jury's going to believe he was in possession of child pornography or not. I don't know if he was in possession of child pornography or not, because nothing has been presented to the court, and all you all had to do was approach the court and say, Your Honor, I believe we're going to go into number one of the state's motion in limine. And you know what I would have done? I would have had the jury step out, and I would have said, okay, what's the issue here? And you would have told me that, and I would have made a ruling.
I believe this came up yesterday.
No.
Yes.
Not the possession of child pornography.
The question of photographs on the camera
of nudes.
Right.
That's it, of nudes. And when we were here at the bench, I even told to say, okay, he has nude photos, allegedly. I said, how is that a bad act? Having a nude photo is not necessarily a bad act.
I see.
And both parties said, yes. Mr. Hunter, yes, Judge, you're right, it's not a bad act. And then we go a step further today, and now it's possession of child pornography. And I'm not going to allow you all to ask that question, and I'm going to instruct the jury to disregard.
We understand, Your Honor.
We understand. And there are some additional matters that she spoke of that have nothing to do with nudity or pornography. And
what would that be?
Your Honor, I don't believe that any other bad acts or potential bad acts of Mark Anthony Saldivar will be discussed other than those things which were discussed in opening statement related to the...
I'll determine whether it comes in or not. And you know why I'm going to determine whether it comes in or not? Because there was a state's motion in limine that says any crimes, wrongs, or bad acts of the victim, Mark Anthony Saldivar, you're to approach beforehand. And I need to make a ruling on whether or not it's relevant and whether or not it should be admissible. That's me. That's my job.
I understand your.
So what other acts or what other bad acts that you feel, crimes, wrongs, or bad acts of the victim, Mark Anthony Salvador, that you feel this witness is going to be questioned about?
I can tell the court that it's going to be, and I don't know if it'll be disputed or not, that he damaged the vehicle. I guess that could be considered a bad act. I want to.
Well, with regards to the damage of the vehicle, allegedly, it said that he put his foot through the glass of the vehicle. That's a part of this whole alleged offense and the offense date. So, counsel, you all know that if there's evidence that's going to come in that he damaged the windshield, that's already in through other people.
Right, and the issue of what she said with respect to that to our client, she says that she didn't say anything. That she looked straight ahead, didn't look to the side.
All right, so here.
May I just finish?
We're getting off track. Where were the bad acts?
Well, I'm going to suggest that she has told people, and I believe if she says that's correct, that I never said anything other than that to Mr. McIntyre, part of the race test of the offense. If she said something other than what she told the police officer, I believe that's a prior inconsistent statement, or we're entitled to ask her about it. It has nothing to do with pornography, sex, anything else.
Counsel, I'm not challenging anyone on inconsistent statements.
Okay.
I'm not challenging anybody on that. The court knows the rules of evidence. What I am saying is there's a motion in limine. And I think it's safe to say for the people who have been practicing even a year that you know you're not supposed to violate motions in limine. And number two, if there's an alleged offense and videos have been shown in exhibits that it's alleged to be, or maybe the jury feels it's already been established that the person who kicked in a window or damaged the window of a vehicle is the complainant, because witnesses have said it's the complainant who did that. So you all know questioning the witness about that, that's really not about the motion in limine. The motion in limine is about your co-counsel violating it.
My able co-counsel, I can tell you if I can get 5 seconds, I believe he will go into next the matter of what was said that precipitated the fight. And I don't think it's about anything, and I think we were entitled to ask the witness.
Let me just tell you, you violated the motion in limine.
We got that.
You will not ask this witness any questions about child pornography on a camera unless you have proof that there's child pornography on a camera.
Well, by the way, we do have proof of that, and it was a legitimate question. However, the court's ruled on it. That's not what I'm discussing. I'm talking about what we're going to do next. And while I can't look into his mind, I presume since the court has ruled on it, we can make a bill later, but we're not going to do anything in front of the jury. However, I do believe conversations, what she tells the police officer, what she tells the judge, if there's somebody that says you said something else, I believe that's fair game, that's impeachment, and all I don't want to do is, we shouldn't have to have the hearing like this before we ask every question.
No.
And if it doesn't involve child pornography or some extraneous offense, I think we're entitled.
No, you all have to have a hearing because it's a part of their motion in limine. You can't just.
It's not an offense.
And the last time I checked, possession of child pornography is an offense.
And we're going to be chastised, and the court's going to do something.
Oh no, my chastisement is just stating the law. There's a motion in limine in place, and the defense has violated. And I am not going to allow you to ask questions about child pornography.
We're not going to do that based on the court's ruling.
However, we should be able to. Your Honor, just in anticipation, the only other aspects of this questioning that I believe will venture into territory that the state might object to would be questioning about whether or not she had a hand in getting the gun into Mr. McIntyre's hands, if that is in fact what happened. And secondly, whether or not she is the source of the marijuana, which I'm not clear on.
All right, so here's the thing. And let me just tell you, this is what I'm going to say this.
She was asked that.
This is what I'm going to say, and I want you all to listen to me clearly. Both sides have been practicing law for more than 2 seconds. Everyone here knows that if you're asking questions and those questions are related to what's already been brought in evidence, the marijuana.
They can't ask questions because there was a motion.
It's already in there. It's already in the evidence. Who had it, what they did with it. Yeah, you can ask questions about that.
And guns.
The gun. It's already there. But I don't want any deflections where people are pretending as though they don't know that they violated the motion in limine. So I'm bringing the jury back in, and I'm telling them to disregard the last question. I'm telling them to disregard any testimony or questions about child pornography. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
And the defense, you violated the motion in limine.
Dang. They're in trouble.
Oh, if you could have your witness take the stand, please.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witness was not in the courtroom while those discussions were happening?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just 1 second. They gotta bring the witness back in. All right, you can bring Ms. Jersey.
All right, for the jury?
Yeah, I don't know. How do y'all feel about that decision by Judge Boyd? I think it could have went either way. It was a nitpicky motion.
All right, everyone, please be seated. And could I have counsel approach?
I mean, all they got was chastised. That's hilarious. They violated a court order, and she was just like, hey, stop that. Yeah, it's hard to unhear a question. I want to know what y'all think about this.